I'd love to start with the creative challenge of using a room and an environment to serve as an extension of a character's identity. More specifically, creating an extension of Oliver in a house that is not his own.
Mm.
So much like the character, you're adopting pieces of the family to inform something or to create a feeling about Oliver. That complexity just kind of blows my mind, and so I'm curious about the process and the starting point in trying to define a undefinable character.
Love it. What a great question. Because obviously, the design on the whole is usually helping create characters that live there, and that's the joy to do. But yeah, with Oliver, we always wanted to make him feel other. So
Mm,
even when he goes to Oxford and he rocks up, he gets the worst room in the college, and Felix lucks out and gets the best room. Now, whether that's because Felix is known to be going and someone phones up and said, oh, Felix Catton's turning up, so we need to give him a good room, or did Felix just luck out and Oliver just get the worst deal?
mm,
And my thinking is Oliver's the sort of guy, unfortunately, that just gets the worst deal. So he got, we made sure the backstory of his room was that it was near the bar where people would stand outside his rooms and smoke cigarettes, and the smoke would always come in, and there was a door that banged the whole night through and things like that. So, and it wasn't paneled. He didn't
mm,
even get that gorgeousness, and the outlook wasn't onto beautifully manicured gardens. And Felix gets all of that and sort of has no understanding that he's lucked out. It just happens for him, and it just doesn't happen and is noticed by Oliver. So then when we get to Oliver's room that he gets given in Saltburn,
mhm.
we wanted to make that again he would notice all the details, whereas Felix, you know, as
Right.
he got that throwaway, he throws his arms, just look over there at the gorgeous Rubens, that's your room. He doesn't really see it, whereas Oliver is obsessed and his desire is there. So we in that room we put in a maze wallpaper just to start that labyrinth of layers and
Mm,
maze. So there's a lovely nod to a 1960s wallpaper. It's a slightly uncomfortable bed because it originally would have been the dressing room for the master's run, and they've turned it into this bedroom for Oliver. So it feels sort of like not really as palatial as
mm,
Felix's room. It needed to feel like the ends of that run, like Felix's room is full of tapestries and that four-poster bed that we had car sprayed in a high gloss turquoise, and it has a warmth and a feeling of Felix. And yet this room has sort of an austere, quite hard, quite uncomfortable. We want the bed. The bed was probably the most uncomfortable bed in the whole house. The
mhm.
big wardrobes that have all these, clothes that get put out for him because he hasn't got the right clothes, that overwhelm him. You
Mhm.
almost think that people are in there. And then I think we even had a big statue of Zeus, just to start the mythology as well, that's plonked in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Also by his bed, which I don't think we hardly saw, but there's the family tree. There's a drawing that we had made of the family tree. Again, just to give
Mhm.
more to Oliver's desire for that house, because ultimately it's not the people he's after as much as the house. It's everything that they encompass. He
Yeah.
desires it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that wallpaper in
Mm.
Oliver's room. It, especially during a particular sequence when he's looking in the mirror after like a very crushing sequence in the film, and the wallpaper almost looks like waves that are crushing him, especially the way that the mirrors behind him are kind of
Oh,
keeping that look.
that's the wallpaper in the bathroom, isn't it?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was amazing because it almost looked like sinews, didn't it? It looked like his
Mm,
muscles, and then it looked
yeah,
like it was melting. And I think we wanted the feeling of the whole film to heat up, so it starts getting hotter and hotter, and so much
mm,
that it starts almost distorting. So yeah, it was
yeah,
great. And
yeah,
that's the beauty of Linus, having someone like Linus to film my sets just elevates them. Yeah, he
yeah.
did an amazing job.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of heating up, I wanted to ask about the use of color red in your
Mm.
work. All throughout the film, working alongside the costumes and the lighting, we have Felix's dorm room that you talked about with the red carpet, and then there's the red rug on top of it. There's the red staircase at Saltburn, the
Yeah.
lights, and of course the red curtains. Look, just kind of looking at where all the color appears without spoiling anything, it informs something. So I'm curious about how strategic you got with your collaborators with the color red, and how much that may have been subconsciously or organic.
Yeah, God, it's a tricky one. It wasn't organic. We absolutely planned. A lot of our references were Caravaggio and painterly artists from, you know, the sort of like 1800s earlier. You know, this family have lived here for 1,000 years, so there was a lot of very traditional art that we referenced, and art like that has color. What's great is working with Emerald is she's very a very bold director, and doesn't fear using color as strong as we did, because I think we use it in quite a contemporary way. It's not the classical use of red, and I think we just wanted to make sure wherever possible there was some red there that we could accent or not, depending on the nature of the scene. So, and every shade of red, it's not just one red, and sometimes the red is almost lost and sometimes it's really heightened. So Shepherd's Pie scene in particular was really interesting, because I think most other directors would have gone for something a bit more subtle, but that red that we chose, that actually was Emerald's choice, because I think I was almost veering to a more blood red, but that's like an orange red, just works so beautifully, and especially with the red wine and everything that as that scene unfolds, I thought was a really bold, because we're not skirting around that color. Red is everything about the color red we see in this film. You know, see its texture, its taste, it's almost its smell. You know, Emerald and I spoke very early on about the other senses, not just about the vision or the sound, but the taste, the smell, the texture, and all. We even put smells within the set so that the characters could feel, you know, the sort of, just get that extra sensory overload that I think Saltburn gives you. You know, I'd love to put smell-o-vision in the movie theaters. You know,
Go to any Disney ride, they tend to do it, but
it's a good idea.
Yeah, but you do such an incredible job of creating a sense of history in each place. I think that was something that that was discussed at the Critics' Choice panel over the weekend in Los Angeles. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. But I wanted to talk about a few key images that you worked into the film with other departments again to add to the authenticity. And I'm just curious, like, what's the first thing that pops into your head, what went into achieving it, or how our actor behaved in the space, things like that. So first I wanted to start with Professor Ware's office. Like the bookshelf behind him, with the books like stacked in a fashion that doesn't highlight an organized mind. Like there's file boxes that are open with papers sticking out of them. There's the TV with the VHS tape that's dangling in front of it. Just, you know, but a sense of claustrophobia too. So I'm just kind of curious about that set.
I just love it when people notice those things. It's brilliant. It can just be a subconscious vision, but it's lovely when you drill in and see that. And it's, again, like, because working with a writer-director, you have immediate answers to the questions. So when I was talking with Emma, I was like, okay, so Professor Weir, you know, is he married? Give me a bit of backstory about him. And we decided he wasn't married, but he liked cats. So he had a picture, you know, we had a picture of some cats dotted about on his desk. I think he was into the choral society, so he'd sing a bit, and we got lots of his sort of photographs. But then it was those layers of someone who's obviously done that job for ages, you know, very bright professor, but he'd never really lived. You know, he almost did with one of the captains, you know, that discussion that he has with Archie about who his mother was. It's so funny, because you just know that was his chance, and it wasn't going to happen. So it was, what was fun also about that is recreating 2006, 2007, and how it would be VHS, or still VHS. You know, student life probably did have DVDs, but hadn't quite moved on to that completely. And just, the history of, here we go, we're doing it again and again and again. And the fact that he probably no one goes in there to tidy for him, you know, so it just gets put on top, on top, on top, on top. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with just the sheer amount of books that are in there, because it kind of illustrates that discussion that they have about the summer reading and how it's like, I haven't even read all those. And so
Yeah,
it might be more for show than
absolutely.
anything.
And what was fun also going a bit about, because that was also the whole aesthetic of the film. I wanted the colors to sort of have some sort of essence throughout. So green and red were a powerful combination for us, as is on lots of movies. Those colors work really well. But so that's a more of a green start with little highlights of red. We don't, you don't expect it there. It's more traditional coloring. It's more gentle, nothing going on here, nothing to see. It's all quite calm. And I think the beginning of this film, you do wonder where we're going, because it almost starts like is Oliver Harry Potter? Is it, it turns out it looks really innocuous and naive, and off we go,
Yeah, yeah. I know we have about 2 minutes left. I wanted to mention, we already talked a little bit about it, but Oliver's dorm room, but specifically the vomit splattered mirror and sink, and even on top of the soap bar. So I'm sure some thought went into trying to perfect that while also making sure that we can see through it, so we notice what's going on in the background.
Yeah. Well, so to start off, we wanted lots of mirrors in the whole film, mirrors and mirrors with bevels, so you get distorted reflections as well. So we get there's quite a lot of mirrors in those rooms, but also it's a massive shout out to my on-set art department team, the standby props and the standby art director, who just do all that vomit throwing and all the little details, like the fly paper on the chandelier, all sorts of those things. That as much as we obviously it is planned to do the vomit, there are other things that the art department on set just react to on the day, and they've done an amazing job on this film. The absolute composition of the films, working closely with the DOP on set, is always great. And I know we had what we called Emerald table, so that if the frame looked too beautiful, we'd have some slightly naff uncomfortable things to throw in to take the edge off the beauty.
That's great. That's great. And then lastly, the pig on the spit. It's the close-up. There's something I kind of loosely brought up to Linus about the visual motif of sweat, and how that continues with the pig to the close-up of the eyes being blue like Oliver's, and kind of reflecting the sense of him being roasted. So just curious about that.
That was hilarious, because I think the eyes, and the eyelashes came as we were dressing and preparing for that party scene. And by chance, luckily, the company that we got to bring the spit roast was their weekend job. And during the week, one of the roasters was actually a optician, so she was able to manipulate the eyes really easily and with no issues, because it was all a little bit but so she was able to manipulate the false eyes that we put in the pig, and then catch the eyelashes. And that is just sums up how fantastic Emerald's mind is, that she just quickly just takes the edge off something, or puts something subversive in there that you go, oh, of course you'd have a pig on a roast with blue eyes and eyelashes. Of course you would.